Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. You live here, you're taking a risk. It could be a very beautiful city, or it could be a very dangerous city, depending on where you live. Check this out.
We learned some truly horrific new details from police today about the discovery of a child's body in a trash can in West Philadelphia. A housing authority sanitation worker found that body last week. The victim had been shot in the head. It took several days to identify the victim as a 12-year-old boy. Action News reporter Maggie Kent live at police headquarters today with the update from investigators. Just an awful situation. Maggie.
Brian, as we hear continuing details, it just continues to get worse and worse, unfortunately. We're now learning from investigators they believe the boy was dead for 1 to 2 days before that sanitation worker made that disturbing discovery. Police officers that we spoke to say this is the kind of case that hits especially close to home. Police say on Wednesday, August 23rd, a housing authority sanitation worker picked up a trash can near the dumpsters of the Haddington homes at 5500 Cherry Street. After placing the trash can into their garbage truck, the sanitation worker made a gruesome discovery along the route when the trash can overturned and human remains were found. It would be 7 days before police were able to identify who the victim was. Found shot in the head, wrapped in plastic and a blanket. After homicide detectives canvassed the neighborhood, handing out flyers describing the victim's clothing, family of 12-year-old Hezekiah Bernard came forward and made the positive ID.
Again, Mr. Bernard was 12 years old. He was brutally killed and placed in a trash can. The focus of this investigation is the swift apprehension of those involved in this senseless death. You hate to say internalize it, but we understand and we feel like there's some sense of justice that need to be served. And we push hard to find these individuals involved in this killing.
Sources say at one point this boy was under the care of DHS, but was not under the agency's care at the time of his death. They say that there was no missing child report made for this child. We're live at police headquarters. Maggie Kent, Channel 6, Action News.
Developing tonight, new details in a tragic discovery out of West Philadelphia. Police now say the victim, found shot in the head and left inside a garbage can, was a 12-year-old boy. His name, Hezekiah Bernard. Tonight, Shawnette, police are working to find out what happened to him.
They are, Sheba, and what I've learned tonight is that Hezekiah was a phenomenal dancer. He was sharp and excited to be part of a mentorship program that would give him more opportunities. And tonight, police are looking for whoever took all of that away. A balloon release in West Philly this evening in memory of 12-year-old Hezekiah Bernard, known to friends as Hezzy.
He gone, but he ain't gonna never be forgotten.
16-year-old Jashir Montgomery was among hundreds who came out after learning that an unidentified body found last week was their friend.
I thought he just wasn't answering the phone, but when I figured out he was dead, they put him in a dumpster. Like, that was out of pocket, and it really hurt me.
Philadelphia police during a press conference today gave a tragic timeline of events, beginning August 22nd, Tuesday of last week, when a housing authority sanitation worker picked up a plastic trash container on the 5500 block of Cherry Street. Investigators say the next day, when the same worker took the truck back out to gather more trash, the container overturned, revealing the body inside, with a plastic wrap around the head and comforter over it. August 24th, the victim's death was ruled a homicide, an autopsy showing he'd been shot in the head.
The estimated time of death of Mr. Bernard was between the hours of 24 and 36 hours, prior to being discovered on August the 23rd.
Police say flyers were posted with a description of the victim, and August 29th, family identified the child. Pastor Aaron Campbell is with Level Up Philly and says Hezekiah had been with the mentorship organization for a little over a year.
So well-mannered. Bright eyes. Just when you looked inside his eyes, you just saw a hunger to see the world.
He had the kids gather tonight at the Level Up building for the balloon release and a safe place to express their grief.
Hezzy, he was my little brother. I cried a lot. I cried a lot because I looked at him as like my own blood. He's so young, just why? That's my question.
And police tell us that Hezekiah was in DHS care, and tonight they are asking you for any information that can help find his killer. Jason?
Shawnette, thank you very much.
A 34-year-old store clerk is in the hospital, critically injured after being shot multiple times inside of a deli in North Philadelphia. Happened this evening around 7:30 at Carolina Market. It's located on West Lehigh Avenue near 27th Street. Police say the suspect walked into the store, waited in line, and shot the victim when he reached the counter. Store surveillance cameras caught the incident from multiple angles. The suspect fled the scene on foot. No arrests have been made.
Fly at a basketball court in North Philadelphia next to a playground. 2 people are dead, 2 others hurt after a quadruple shooting. Good evening, I'm Dawn Timoney. Dozens of shots were fired, leaving the court littered with shell casings. All the victims are adults, but children were playing feet away. Shawnette Wilson following the story for us tonight. Shawnette, what have you learned?
Well, Dawn, police tell me that several guns were used and more than 50 shots fired. And preliminary information indicates that police say they are looking for about 4 or 5 shooters.
Everything was taped off.
A North Philly rec center covered in shell casings and police evidence markers. Shots rang out here around 6 o'clock this evening at the 8th and Diamond playground, leaving 4 victims. 2 have died.
I pray for the family, for their losses, and they got my condolence. And they also, hopefully they could catch the people that did it.
This man doesn't want to be identified, but was walking by not long after it happened.
They need to bring back the guardian angels. I don't know if you heard about them. Oh yeah, they was here in Philly. People would be safe.
Police say the victims include a 23-year-old man dead after he was shot in the head. A second male, age unknown, was also shot and killed. A 23-year-old man shot in the stomach is in critical condition, and a 22-year-old man shot in the head and leg is in extremely critical condition. Police say it happened on the basketball court when another group got out of a car and opened fire.
Multiple shooters came off of Darien Street, went into the playground, and fired eastbound at a group of males that were playing basketball.
People identified by witnesses as family members of some of the victims gathered at the scene looking for answers. Police say it appears the group or someone in it was targeted.
They were playing basketball, so they were all in close proximity, and they just started firing. And we're lucky we don't have more people shot.
Police say they will keep the rec center and playground open, and that rec centers in the city are a priority, but they will have police there.
We're going to keep the rec center open. We don't want to close it, and we're working on different angles, hopefully to put an end to any possible retaliation that could result from this, because that's always our biggest concern if it is one group against another group.
And police do say that there were children playing outside the rec center property, but close by. Luckily, none of them were hit, but they did say that bullets hit homes that were just across the street, Dawn.
Pretty frightening. Thank you, Shawnette.
Developing now, a double shooting in Queen Village has left a 19-year-old dead and another in the hospital. The shooting happened around 5:30, and police say several homes and cars were also hit by bullets. Nikki Dementry has the latest on the investigation.
Philadelphia police say they found more than 75 shell casings after a shooting in Queen Village. One neighbor shared with us how it all unfolded. That neighbor was frightened for her safety and didn't go on camera. She told us the usually quiet neighborhood quickly turned to chaos, describing to us how she heard rounds of gunfire while seeing people, including kids, running and dropping to the ground to avoid being hit.
We're going to have additional police presence in the area for a while.
Dozens of shell casings cover the corner of Montrose and South 3rd. Philadelphia police say they found a 19-year-old who was shot multiple times. Officers rushed him to the hospital where he later died. Investigators say a second 19-year-old victim showed up at the hospital where he's listed in critical condition.
We believe he may have been the intended target since he struck multiple times by gunfire. The other 19-year-old, who's hit one time in the leg, possibly could be struck by stray gunfire.
Chief Inspector Scott Small says neither of the young men lived in the area. No weapons were recovered at the scene, but he says detectives are looking at ballistic evidence to identify 2 different guns used.
We don't know what they were doing in the area of 3rd and Montrose, and we don't know if they were together when they were struck.
During the shooting, police say 5 houses, some empty, others with families home, were also struck by gunfire. Officials say 4 cars were hit too.
We're very lucky that although 5 properties were struck by gunfire, where the bullets actually went into the windows, no one in these properties was struck by gunfire.
As the investigation continues, Philadelphia police are working to figure out if a silver sedan seen leaving the area is involved in the shooting. Police also add that several private surveillance cameras captured the incident. In Spring Garden, Nikki Dementri, CBS News, Philadelphia.
Breaking overnight, a woman fights back against a would-be carjacker.
Police say there was an exchange of gunfire ending with both of them injured. CBS News Philadelphia reporter Waukesha Bailey is live at Temple University Hospital for us this morning with the very latest details. Waukesha, good morning.
Good morning, Jan, Don. Well, you know, police say that this was a very scary ordeal. And as you both mentioned, both the victim as well as the suspect, they are here at Temple University Hospital, where we're told they're in stable condition. Now, police say that this attempted carjacking all happened while a woman was simply just pumping her gas at a local gas station. Now, here's video from that gas station last night where officers tell us around 10:30, a 35-year-old woman who police sources say is also a corrections officer was filling up her BMW at Global Gas Station on North 22nd Street and West Allegheny Avenue when a 22-year-old man attempted to rob her. They both pulled out their guns and fired several shots. The woman was shot twice in the leg and the suspect was shot in the lower back and leg. Police say the woman put up a struggle before shots were fired.
The male approaches her and grabs her, puts her in a bear hug from behind, and then there's a physical altercation, and they both pull weapons and they shoot each other. We know a total of 11 shots were fired. We're holding the 20-year-old male as a prisoner.
And this morning, police tell us that they are reviewing surveillance video from that local gas station as well as other businesses, all in hopes of that will be an aid in this investigation. Jan.
Isha, thanks for the update. Appreciate that.
This is breaking tonight. More than 130 shots fired between two deadly shootings. In South Philadelphia, one man is dead, two others injured after what's believed to be a shootout at a Chinese food restaurant. It happened just before 9 tonight. Officers responding to 7th and Daly. They found more than 60 shell casings on the ground and the three victims. A 37-year-old man fatally shot 18 times. 18 times. A 21-year-old man and a 22-year-old man were also hit by gunfire. They're both stable.
Upper Darby police are searching for a shooter that opened fire during a funeral banquet. Investigators say it may have been in retaliation for another shooting. CBS News Philadelphia's Jasmine Payute is live in Upper Darby with details. Good morning, Jasmine.
Good morning, Don. Investigators say there were about 50 to 100 people present when shots were fired, and this could have been a lot worse. All of this as people were gathering to remember another life lost. Now take a look at this. This is still a very active investigation, but again, we know that one person was killed and about 3 others are recovering this morning. According to officials, one of the 3 is in critical condition, while the 2 others suffered what police described as graze wounds. The shooting happened on Long Lane and Guilford Road in Upper Darby during a funeral banquet. Police believe it was tied to another shooting in Clifton Heights last Thursday. We spoke with people who say they heard the gunshots and investigators who again say this could have been a lot worse.
I heard gunshots about 5 times, pow, 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 pow.
I won't speak to anything with Clifton Heights. I can just say that what we know now is that this is in retaliation from that incident. The funeral was today and the luncheon was back here at this location on Long Lane.
Police have not identified the man killed, but they say they are looking for one gunman who was in a dark-colored Malibu Chevy. Anyone with information on this is asked to contact them. As I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Jasmine, thank you.
Right now investigating a deadly shooting in West Philadelphia. This happened just before 2 o'clock this morning. This is on the 500 block of North Creighton Street. Police telling us a 30-year-old man was shot in the doorway of a home. He died right there on the scene. So far, no word on a possible suspect.
Shooting, a deadly shooting near Independence Mall. Our Eddie Kadam is at the scene. What can you tell us at this point, Eddie?
Yeah, Don, I just got out here a few minutes ago. This scene, pretty isolated to this square right here at the corner of 5th and Chestnut right here. A little to the left, underneath that red tape there, you can see that there's 2 motorcycles, it looks like, on the ground there. There is obviously some large police presence here. Part of 5th and part of Chestnut also shut down. It's also a very active scene. A lot of people out. It's a Saturday night. This is a busy area. A lot of people out enjoying their night, walking by, wondering what's going on. Obviously, I talked to some people in the area who were here when it happened. They recalled hearing some gunshots. But right now, that's pretty much all we know so far. We're working to get some more information. We are hearing potentially 2 people shot. We are seeing 2 motorcycles on the ground here. Police still actively investigating at this point. Dawn, back to you.
Eddie Kadam live for us in Old City. Again, 1 person dead, potentially 1 other injured. Thank you, Eddie. In Philadelphia's Kensington neighborhood, another shooting. 1 man is dead and 2 others fighting for their lives after a triple shooting. This was just before 5 tonight on the 700 block of East Madison Street. A 39-year-old man was shot 5 times and died at the hospital. 2 other men whose ages have not yet been released were also hit by the gunfire. They're both in critical condition. No weapons were found at the crime scene, and so far no arrests.
Another violent night in Philadelphia. But listen to this. Over 130 shots fired in 2 separate deadly shootings. Shayna, I don't know where you want to start.
Right, because it's a lot to get to. We have, as you mentioned, a double shooting and a triple shooting, both of them turning deadly within 3 hours of each other. So let's start with the first scene. I'll bring you right to that one. This is Southwest Philadelphia, 3rd Street and Montrose, I should say. This was the scene just after 5:30 in the evening when officers were called to that corner about a call that came in about shots fired. When they got there, they found 1 victim, a 19-year-old, shot 3 times in the shoulder, hit in his back, and then in his leg. He was rushed to a nearby hospital. A second 19-year-old victim suffering from a gunshot wound to the leg arrived by private car to the hospital, reported stable at this time, but that first victim I mentioned died from his injuries after being shot multiple times throughout his body. This scene quickly turning deadly. 75 spent shell casings on the corner of 3rd and Montrose. Multiple cars and homes also struck along that block, with luckily no injuries or fatalities reported from the neighbors. Now let me bring you to the next scene just about 2.5 hours later. This is 7th and Daly Streets. This scene, a triple shooting, 60 shots fired in the South Philadelphia area. 1 man dead, 2 others injured after police say a shootout broke out between 2 groups last night. This is about 9 p.m. All 3 victims were rushed to Jefferson Hospital. A 37-year-old man was pronounced dead after being hit multiple times. 2 other victims stable at this hour.
Police took all 3 of these shooting victims to Jefferson Hospital. The 37-year-old male, who was shot multiple times in the chest, abdomen, and torso, he was pronounced dead at Jefferson Hospital at 9:08 p.m. So this is a triple shooting. 1 of the victims, age 37, was pronounced dead at Jefferson Hospital. The other 2 victims, ages 21 and 22, they are in stable condition at Jefferson Hospital.
So the information we just got from Chief Inspector Scott Small indicates that the 37-year-old victim, the one that died in that shooting, they believe that he may have been the intended target. Now police are tasked with figuring out if the 3 victims in that particular case were related or knew each other in some way. Guys.
Oh, God.
An investigation into a deadly double shooting in Philadelphia's Logan section continues tonight. Sky Fox over that scene shortly after it happened just before 10 last night. It was on the 4900 block of Old York Road. A 41-year-old man was shot in the stomach and died at the hospital. A 28-year-old man shot in the hip and is in critical condition. No word on a motive and no arrest at this point.
Meanwhile, police are working to determine if the shooting in Queen Village is connected to a triple shooting several blocks away at 7th and Wolf Streets. Surveillance video there shows the moment when people began firing at the trio. Police say 38-year-old Charles Fickling was killed after he was shot more than a dozen times. 2 other men who were shot are in stable condition. Investigators say more than 60 shots were fired in all.
Well, another bad weekend in Philly. Let's go. We'll start with Frankfurt. 3 people are in the hospital this morning after being shot. It happened just before 6 o'clock last night on the 1800 block of East Pike Street. 2 women in their 20s and a man in his 30s. All 3 of them are in stable condition.
And in Logan, 2 teenagers were shot last night on the 5100 block of North 11th Street at around 6:15. An 18-year-old and 17-year-old are currently in stable condition. Deadly double shooting in Frankfurt leaves 1 woman dead, and police say nearly 50 shots were fired. So Steve is live at police headquarters with more. Steve?
Yeah, this was just the latest incident in a violent 5 hours in Philly, and here's the video, and look at all those evidence markers, and you're wondering who would fire so many times at a couple who seem to be outside enjoying a summer night, grilling. They sent a little tent up and had their chairs on the street, maybe live on that street because they were unidentified at last check with Philly police. The guy looks like the target simply because they shot him twice in the head and then maybe shot the woman so many times so they didn't leave a witness.
Where we found both of the victims is where we found the ballistic evidence of the crime scene, which was over 40 shots fired from a semi-automatic weapon. Most of the spent shell casings are in a group, a little area, and most of these shell cases were just a few feet from where both victims were laying. So it appears that the shooter or shooters intentionally fired multiple shots, striking these 2 victims, which we believe were together.
You know, the saddest part is before you try to figure out a motive why somebody would want that couple dead, you got to figure out who they are, and they're still listed as a Jane Doe, deceased, and a John Doe, who still hasn't regained consciousness, unresponsive when they picked him up, and somehow clinging to life despite 2 bullets into his brain.
Look at that, seeing all those markers to see just how many shots were fired.
Unreal.
A teenager was shot near Temple's campus. It happened on the 1600 block of North 16th and Cecil B. Moore around 10:15 last night. Police say a 17-year-old boy was shot in the leg. He was taken to the hospital in stable condition. Investigators have 4 suspects in custody.
1 man is dead this morning after being shot in Hunting Park. Police say they found the victim with a bullet wound to the stomach. It happened on North 9th and Lycoming Streets around 10:30 last night. The victim was taken to the hospital where he died. Police say they do not have a motive or anyone in custody. Another deadly shooting in southwest Philadelphia. Police say a 55-year-old male was shot on 81st and Madison Avenue around 3 this morning. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition, didn't make it. Police are still investigating. Northeast Philadelphia, 1 woman is in critical condition after a shooting at a motel. It happened at Motel 6 on East Roosevelt Boulevard yesterday morning around 2. Police telling us the victim, a 43-year-old woman, was shot 3 times in her legs inside a motel room. She was taken to the hospital. Police say they are pursuing a male suspect. So far, no arrests have been made in this case.
First tonight, breaking news, a teenager shot just steps away from a rec center in North Philadelphia. And we've learned he is in critical condition tonight. I'm Sheba Russell.
I'm Jason Martinez. This happened around 90 minutes ago, right along the 1800 block of North 20th Street. And Kelly's at the scene. What do you know, Kelly?
Jason and Sheba, unfortunately, something we're talking about way too often. Another teenager shot in the city of Philadelphia. Again, we're talking about a 14-year-old boy at last check listed in critical condition by Philadelphia police. They say he was shot in the chest and back. Now, police say this all happened just before 8:15 tonight on the 1800 block of North 20th Street. Take a look at the scene here. We could see numerous shell casings in the parking lot of what appears to be part of the Jackie's Garden townhome community. Now, police say someone rushed the teen to Temple Hospital. It's unclear who that person was. We did see a lot of neighbors standing around. Police say they did not locate a weapon at the scene, but sadly, this teen is at least the 14th person shot in the city this weekend. On Friday night, also in North Philadelphia, 3 men were killed and 1 was critically injured when they were shot while playing basketball around 6 in the evening. So if you have any information on this 14-year-old shot tonight, the shooting investigation group is handling this, and police want to hear from you if you have any information. Sheba and Jason.
All right, Kelly Rule on the scene of that breaking news. Thank you very much.
A teenage boy is fighting for his life after being shot in the face. Let's get right out to Steve Keeley.
Yeah, this happens 2 nights after we had those 5 teenagers shot at the Sturgis Rec Center playground. And this scene, 51st and Haverford, and again, this is in prime time. Kids out on a nice summer night, and one group of kids ran into another group of kids, and then one of them obviously has a gun.
According to witnesses, the juvenile just prior to being shot was walking along the sidewalk with about 3 or 4 other teenagers or young adults when they encountered another group of teenagers and young adults. That's when there was some sort of argument or altercation that escalated into this shooting. He is suffering from a gunshot wound to his face. We did find the scene in the 5400 block of Haverford Avenue consisting of 4 spent shell casings. We found them on the sidewalk. So it appears someone fired at least 4 shots from a semi-automatic weapon. Police rushed him to CHOP because he appeared to be a juvenile, and that victim is in critical condition.
So good thing the shooter was not a good shot, or we could have 4 kids shot or 4 kids murdered. Karen, this makes 113 according to the city controller's shooting graphic. Kids shot this year under age 18. This one just 17.
Even one is too many. All right, Steve, thank you.
Tonight at 10, what started out as a night of fun at a West Philadelphia block party ends in a deadly mass shooting. 9 people in all shot in a hail of gunfire early this morning. Good evening, I'm Dawn Timoney. 1 person is dead. 7 of the 8 victims who survived are women, including 2 teenagers. This all happened just after 1:30 this morning on the 500 block of North Creighton Street. When police arrived, they say they found a large crowd and multiple gunshot victims. A 19-year-old man was shot repeatedly in the face and body and died at the hospital. 2 17-year-old girls among those who were hurt. The oldest victim, a 51-year-old woman. All 8 are stable. So far, no arrests and no word on a motive.